Throughout my life, I have come across a large number of phones that have been for personal use, either because there are some who surprised me, others had very interesting functions, others performed well, and they really couldn't find anything better, and the like. And I have been commenting since I entered in the world of smartphones, which was approximately in 2012, and because in those days they were very slow phones, others with a lot of want, others had functions that only were exclusive to each brand. But as of today, manufacturers have devastated a lot, and because there are too many options. But unfortunately, we are already fully saturated, that to such an extent, manufacturers no longer know what to offer. Or they are simply already offering the same of the same, and we pay for the same or even more, and promoting programmed obsolescence. Or simply, some manufacturers are taking certain things away from them, which in those days were quite indispensable, and now they take it as if it were something new. For example, they were no longer chargers, no longer a headset and things like that. But well, leaving this aside, that's where the old phones come in. Or second-hand, that among them I will explain. Why for me, it is better to buy an old high-end than a mid-range, or current low-end. And the fact is that among one of them is that their prices are well evaluated. Then, after spending about 6 months a year of it, a year and a half, down to half the price. An example, I'm going to put the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra on it. In its time was worth $1,200. The cheapest version, which was the 8GB 256. In my case, you can buy it per $1,000, and that's because it is the 12GB RAM version and an internal storage fabric, which, then, in those days, cost almost $2,000 for this version, and I was able to buy half of it. And I tell him that kind of thing because, so, you can take advantage of a good phone, which was practically returned over time, but in characteristic and will have the best of the best, and it will last a few years. This is the second point I am going to comment on. The functions, habitats and features last a long time, because they are phones that are going to be quite fast, will be highly optimized. Apart from that, it will have very good cameras, very good processor, and will also offer many functions than a mid-range or a low-end will not offer it, even if it takes 5 or 6 years. That there are even some high-end phones that were in their time, they haven't even put it in the mid-range. At least so is a second option, for in order to be considered an old Gamalta. And the third reason, for me, I consider it the best option, and if you buy it in 1 year or 2 years that have been released on the market, you're going to enjoy a phone out there about 3 to 4 years maximum, which is normal because, for someone who is not going to use it enough, or for someone who is going to use basic things and you don't need to be changing your phone, or also the same, well, they want to have it around for a year, 2 or 3 years, and very much so if you are a demanding user, because in those days, we'll continue to offer updates, and that, because they are now lengthening it quite a bit because manufacturers are already copying Apple in the subject, 7 years of Android updates coming out, then you will have a nice updated phone, and that if you buy a Google Pixel, even better, because then you are going to enjoy the Android experience in a pure way. And it will have, let's say, the latest on Android, because that is one of the few that provide updates. This first, and then in a nutshell you buy an old high-end, has very good features that over time, they will not age badly, but on the contrary, will continue to feel like it's the first day since it came out, and you will feel quite comfortable, will have a very good feeling, and not to mention what that phone looks like here, are evaluated fairly quickly, because it will take advantage of these, and obviously more than one will be wondering, well, that's not so nice. It is true, but you have to know how to buy. Since we are going to talk about the disadvantages, and one of them is knowing how to buy a used cell phone, and it is that then. How our used cell phones have already passed through at least 1 or 2 owners. There are already many things that can happen, that, for example, the screen is broken, or that has minimal aesthetic details, because it has fallen off or scratched, or other things like this. But if you don't care about that, and the important thing is that the phone all works, that it is not stolen, or anything like that, is a very good, and soon I will make a video about it. How to check a used cell phone before buying. And the other option is that if you compose old malt, almost 4 or 5 years as it no longer receives Android updates from its launch date, because of what such phones, as it has already fulfilled its useful life in terms of updates. And obviously with time, because they are losing certain things, and that because the truth has a solution, but it is not recommended to install rounds, and it is already a little more complex. We are already knowing, let's say, an average user. So, my recommendation to you is to buy a telephone 1 year after launch, i.e. if, for example, bought an Ultra S25 this year and wants to buy it, expect next year, which goes down a lot in price and is going to get those cell phones as new. So, I hope you liked this video. Let me know with a like, subscribe, activate the bell and all. And see you next time.